Okay, good afternoon to all. We'll continue discussing some problems on electrostatic force on a particle in an electric field, that is Lorentz force. And then from there, we'll move on to discuss some new concepts as well towards the later half of the class. Okay, so first, let us try to do some problems on the Lorentz force concept. Okay, right. See the first question. Uh, oh, it's funny. Right. So the intensity of the electric field required to balance a proton of mass 1.7 into 10 power minus 27 kg and the charge of 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb is. So how much electric field is required to balance the mass of the proton? That means, let us say a proton is freely falling. Now, because it is also a charged particle, it is falling because of gravitational force. It has a mass, so gravity will act on the mass, therefore it will free fall. Now, in order to stop that, one can apply an electric field to stop it. So basically here therefore two forces are acting in opposition to each other, and that is how one can balance a free falling proton. So basically proton being a charged particle and having a mass also, due to mass gravity will act on it, and the gravity acceleration due to gravity g, so mg is the weight of it, so it will act. Now electrostatic field or the electric field should be applied in the opposite direction to this. So yesterday we discussed what to mean by direction of electric field. Now the source of the electric field we don't care anyway, not that that particular charge is interacting with electron, nothing like that. Just there is an electric field due to some source, and the electric field direction must be like this in order for this to be balanced. So the two forces basically here are, one is the weight of the proton mg, and the other one is the Lorentz force on the proton. So here specifically we are using the word Lorentz force because it is q into E. Now charge of the electron is same as the charge of the proton, so it is q is equal to E only. Therefore mg is equal to E is the equation. Now what do we need? How much electric field should be applied in order for this to happen? That is a question. So it's very simple. Electric field is going to be equal to mg over E. Now mass of the proton, acceleration to gravity, and the charge of the proton all are known to us, so we have to just substitute these numbers to get the electric field. So mass is 1.7 here. Generally it is taken as 1.67 only, but here we have rounded off to the first decimal as 1.7. So 1.7 into 10 power minus 27 multiplied by the acceleration to gravity, which is 9.8, divided by the charge of the proton, which is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. So now if you simplify this, solve the numbers, we will get 10 into 10 power minus 8 or 10 in 10 power minus 7 volt per meter. That is a unit, or Newton per coulomb. Of course, both are equivalent units for electric field. Later on, we will study why this is volt per meter. That is, in a few classes, we will start potential, electrostatic potential. That time, we will understand why this unit is volt per meter. So, for the time being, you just assume that it is also one of the units. So 1 Newton per coulomb is the same as 1 volt per meter. Both are units, equivalent units for electric field. Right. Right. Let us dive to the second problem. Second problem you are going to do. Now that you are familiar with this, you can do it now, I think. So the number of electrons to be put on a spherical conductor of radius 0.1 meter to produce an electric field of 0.036 Newton per coulomb just above its surface is What is the number of protons? We have to calculate the total number of protons or electrons. Charge is same, so no problem. So here it's electrons, it's given. So the number of electrons to be put on a spherical conductor of radius 0.1 meter to produce an electric field of this much just above its surface is how much? So what is this question? Therefore there is a spherical conductor. You have to add some amount of charges to it. Let us call the charge as Q. Now this charge is always, we know, quantization rule, Ne. Now we want this number N. A is the charge of the electron, N is the number of electrons. So in the question they are asking the number of electrons to be put, how many electrons you will put here to make up for a charge Q such that the electric field is E is equal to 0.036 Newton per Coulomb. This is the value of the electric field they have given you. Now how much is the charge? First you have to calculate, and from there you can calculate this number Ne, because charge of the electron is known. The radius of this is given as, how much it is given as? It is given as, I think, 0.1 meters. 0.1 meter radius just above the surface. What will be the electric field? This is the electric field. How much charge should be there? That is a question, very simple one. I think you can work it out. Please work it out and let me know whether you are getting the answer. Tell me whatever the answer you are getting for N. We want N. How will you approach? Yes, Q is equal to N. How will you get Q? So here you can actually, no, force means we need another charge, all complications are directly we can get from field, right? Electric field is given there already, right? So you can get from that. Electric field is given, you have to calculate the total charge for such an electric field, how much should be the charge on the sphere. Once you get the total charge, you know how many electrons make up that much charge. So first you will get Q, then from there you will get N, because N is Q by E. So please work it out and tell me. First you get the Q, then from there you will get N. N is nothing but total charge divided by the charge of the electron. Exactly. చేసి చూడండి, వస్తుంది, చేయండి, చేస్తేనే ప్రాక్టీస్. మీకు వింటే మర్చిపోతారు, మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి చేస్తే గుర్తుంటుంది. ఇవన్నీ ఫోర్స్ మీద ఇలాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తాయి. సో మీరు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తే ఈజీ, ఇవన్నీ చాలా ఈజీగా ఉంటాయి, సింపుల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఇవన్నీ. లారెన్స్ ఫోర్స్ మీద మ్యాక్సిమం ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఇలా బ్యాలెన్స్, 2 ఫోర్సెస్ బ్యాలెన్స్ అవ్వాలి, లేదా చార్జ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ క్యాల్కులేట్ చేయాలి, ఇలాంటి క్వశ్చన్స్ వస్తాయి చాలా. 5 వెరీ గుడ్. ఐ థింక్ హూ ఇస్ గివింగ్ ఆన్సర్? శశాంక్ ఓన్లీ. ఓకే, ఇట్స్ కరెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్. 2.5 into 10 power 5 is the answer. So basically electrostatic force is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ne by r square, that is the electric field at the surface of the sphere. So Ne is unknown here because total charge we don't know. So first we have to calculate total charge. So N we can directly also calculate. N is equal to, by taking into the other side all the terms, that is 4 pi epsilon naught into E and then multiply by r square and divide by E. Totally directly also we can do. So if you do directly, you will get 0.036 into 10 power minus 2. That is because here 0.0366 is given, that is, and 0.1 meter is there. So that is 10 power minus 1. But when you square it, it becomes 10 power minus 2. So r square this is. And denominator it is 9 into 10 power 9. Why? Because 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is 9 into 10 power 9. So here in the numerator we'll have 4 pi epsilon naught. So that is 1 by 9 into 10 power 9. So that's why it is coming to the denominator here. And then multiplied by the charge E. Right. Is equal to, therefore we'll get 360 by, if you multiply this you will get 144. Of course powers are adjusted and finally you will get 10 power 5. So that is the power. So this n is equal to 2.5 into 10 power 5. That is that many electrons will constitute a charge equal to Ne, and therefore you will get electric field of the given value. That is this thing. Next problem, you see the intensity of the electric field required to keep a water drop of radius 10 power minus 5 centimeter just suspended in air. So this idea is based on a very famous experiment of Mulliken, right? Charge to mass ratio of electron, E by M ratio of electron, was first measured by an experiment by a scientist named Mulliken, right? He only actually measured the electron charge without actually that time exactly knowing what is electron and all. He was able to measure the charge of that some unknown particle that is coming out of the atom, because electrons, when our atom gets ionized, electrons are the ones that come out. So he was able to stick these electrons to oil drop and then measure the E by M ratio of the electrons. So this idea is something similar to this. Here you see the intensity of the electric field required, how much electric field is required to balance the water drop. So basically water drop will fall, all you have to do is to balance it. So how much electric field is required for that purpose? That is the question. And the water drop contains only one electron. So it is charged with one electron. So how much is the electric field required? How will you calculate this? Size of the water drop is given. That is 10 power minus 5 centimeters. Any ideas are there? Any suggestions are there? Tanai, any idea is there, Tanai? How can we do it? Okay. బట్ ఇక్కడ మనకు ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ ఇవ్వలేదు, ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ అడుగుతున్నారు క్వశ్చన్లో, ఫోర్స్ కూడా ఇవ్వలేదు కదా. ఫోర్స్ ఇచ్చి ఉంటే నువ్వు చెప్పినట్టే డైరెక్ట్గా చేసేయచ్చు, కరెక్టే, బట్ ఫోర్స్ కూడా ఇవ్వలేదు కదా. వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు ఫస్ట్ గెట్ ద మాస్ ఆఫ్ ద వాటర్ డ్రాప్లెట్. ఎస్, mg వీ హ్యావ్ టు ఫస్ట్ క్యాల్కులేట్, దెన్ బ్యాలెన్స్ దట్ మాస్ విత్ ద చార్జ్, ఎలక్ట్రాన్ చార్జ్, దెన్ వీ విల్ గెట్ ది ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. సో ఇట్స్ బేసికలీ mg by E చేస్తే మనకు ఆన్సర్ వచ్చేస్తుంది ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్. ఎందుకంటే ది అగైన్ ఫస్ట్ ప్రాబ్లం లాంటి ఐడియా అనేది కూడా ద మాస్ ఆఫ్ ద వాటర్ డ్రాప్ ఈస్ బ్యాలెన్స్డ్ బై ది ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్. సో దర్ ఫోర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ mg by E వీ హ్యావ్ టు వర్క్అవుట్. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ m ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఎలా వస్తుంది? దర్ ఇస్ size radius is given. Can you work out the mass? Exactly. So all you have to do is to get the volume from this radius, that is 4 by 3 pi r cube you have to do, because spherical ని assume చేసుకొని volume of the sphere యూస్ చేసి వాటర్ డ్రాప్లెట్కి we can get the volume, and then all you have to do is to multiply that by the density of water. That can be taken generally to be 1000, right? So we can multiply that and get the answer. So here mg is equal to E is a formula. Mass is 4 by 3 pi r cube into the density d. Small d is density here. So we are getting 4 by 3 into 22 by 7 into r cube. R is in centimeters, so we are taking it in meters. So 10 power minus 5 centimeter is 10 power minus 7 meters, so 10 power minus 7 and cube, so whole cube, and multiplied by the density is 1000 kg. 1000 kg per meter cube, right? So 1000. That is the mass you are going to get. Therefore electric field is this weight by electric field. సారీ, ఇక్కడ మిస్టేక్ ఉంది. వెయిట్ బై స్మాల్ ఈ, ఇది క్యాపిటల్ ఈ రాశాను, ఇది స్మాల్ ఈ. సో mg బై స్మాల్ ఈ వీ హ్యావ్ టు డూ. సో mg బై స్మాల్ ఈ వేస్తే 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. That will give us electric field. So the electric field is going to be 321.4 newtons per coulomb. If you work out the numbers, this is the answer you will get. Right. The next problem is very simple question. The magnitude of electric field intensity E such that the electron placed in it would experience an electrical force equal to its weight is given by same problem it is actually. So the answer is going to be force and weight has to be balanced. So it is mg by E. So electric field is nothing but mg by E. Now you will directly also remember this formula. It's good. Now next question. A mass of 20 grams has a charge of 3 millicoulomb mc. So mass and charge are given. It moves with a velocity of 20 meters per second and enters a region of electric field 80 newtons per coulomb in the same direction as the velocity of the mass. The velocity of the mass after 3 seconds in this region is how much? So basically the question, what is the question here? A mass is entering an electric field and this mass has charge also, and the velocity with which it is moving is 20 meters per second. So while entering, it has this velocity. That is one can call that as initial velocity, therefore, right? And then all we have to get is how much is the final velocity acquired because of the acceleration that the mass will undergo in the presence of the electric field. So you have done it, such problems you must have done a lot of problems in the first year also, but additionally here only electric field comes into the picture because of the charge. So please work it out and tell me how much is the velocity for this particular object on entering the electric field. Ashrita, can you work out? Okay. మైక్రో కూలంబ్ డెఫినెట్గా కన్వర్ట్ చేయాలి కదా. అది మెల్లి కూలంబ్ యాక్చువల్గా. ఎంసీ అంటే మెల్లి, మైక్రో అంటే మన మైక్రో సింబల్ తెలుసు కదా, ఆ సింబల్ అడతారు. ఇది మెల్లి కూల్. ఎంసీ అంటే మెల్లి. 10 పర్ -3 వేసుకోవాలి. మైక్రో -6 అవుతుంది కదా. yes 56 meters per second. 56 meters per second. Yes, the answer is correct actually. 56 meters per second. Let others also work out. Now they know the answer, so they can be sure. Let them work out. 1 or 2 minutes will be for others. Okay, I think everybody is now getting the answer. That is 56 meters per second. So all we have to do is to get the acceleration first. Newton's equation is mass into acceleration, and that is force. So that force is equal to the Lorentz force Q into E. So acceleration alone if you need, that is therefore Q into E divided by mass. So ma is equal to QE is the equation. From there we can write acceleration as 12 meters per second square. Of course Q is given in millicoulombs, so 10 power minus 3 we have to multiply. Electric field is given as 80 and mass of the particle is 20 grams. So that has to be converted into kilograms. Anyway, the milli and the kilogram will cancel. So it is 240 by 20, so 12. Velocity we need, but while entering itself it has a velocity of 20 meters per second. So actual velocity is now final velocity. Initial velocity should be taken as 20. For this acceleration, what would be the final velocity? That too after 3 seconds they are asking clearly, so it's very easy. The final velocity is initial velocity plus acceleration into time. So it is v is equal to u plus 80 formula. So v is equal to 20 plus 12 into 3 seconds. That is equal to 56 meters per second. This is how we can get the final velocity of the charged particle entering an electric field. So very clearly you have to remember at this stage that Lorentz force, whenever it acts on a particle, the particle will be accelerated if it is charged. So an uncharged particle will not get accelerated at all in an electric field. No effect on the uncharged particle in an electric field. Only a charged particle can get accelerated in an electric field, and that's why that force has a special name, that is called Lorentz force. Right. Next, a particle of mass m and charge q is placed at rest in a uniform electric field E and then released. The kinetic energy acquired by the particle after moving a distance y is, how much kinetic energy will be there after moving a distance for this particle? So maybe for this problem I will give choices. One can easily answer them, because otherwise you will not know what terms to use. So in this question itself it is given as particle with charge q, and there is an electric field here, and the distance particle that is moving is not given anyway. What is asked is kinetic energy. Distance also is given in the question, it is y. So the particle is moving a distance y in an electric field E with a charge q. What is the kinetic energy Ke? That is the question. Can you calculate now? So far we calculated v, right? Velocity. Now we are calculating kinetic energy. So if I give choices or something, all will answer immediately, right? Let me give some choices then. Choice A. These are the 4 choices. Fourth option. See, okay, okay. Oh, QE. Okay, okay. So it is actually Y QEY. This is the answer actually. But fourth option, if you why you are telling fourth, it is because EY by Q. It will E. See, E is going to be force times Q, right? Force by Q, right? So if you do force by Q, it will not be correct, right? That will be Y of divided by Q square then. So that cannot be answered. Actual option is third option. Very straightforward, right? Force into distance is the energy units, right? Force into displacement is the energy units. So kinetic energy is force into displacement because that is the work done in moving the charge. The charge is moving in an electric field. So some work has to be done by the field. Electric field is doing some work on this charge to move it. And that work will be stored in the charge as Ke. And that work is nothing but force into distance. The force on the charge is the Lorentz force, so it is Q into E. Distance to which it is moving is Y. So QEY is the answer for this. So the kinetic energy is Q times E into Y. Right. So the work done is stored as kinetic energy in the particle. So the answer is QEY. Right. This one you can work out. It is electric field. So far we have done only two-dimensional electric fields everywhere. Now for one sample we have to do three-dimensional also, right? So four identical charges are fixed at the corners of a square of side A, like this. So it is a square, and we are seeing from the side angle. Q, 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 Q. Four charges are occupying the four corners. Side is A. Find the electric field at a point capital P, which is at a distance Z, lying on the line perpendicular to the plane of the square. So assume your palm is a square. Now charge is not at the center of the square. Charge is above the square at a distance Z. Perpendicular to the plane, it is lying at a distance Z. Now what will be the electric field at the point P? How to do this? So basically 4 point charges are sitting at the four corners of a square. We don't want to calculate the electric field at the center of the square. What is the electric field? Slightly above the center. Slightly above the center at a distance Z. What will be the electric field? The point P is above the square. Any suggestions from anybody? Z is the distance from the plane of the square to the point P. Now Tanay has answered already, Shashank has answered, so I want now Lokesh or Funny. Lokesh, can you answer? Electric field is a vector. You have to remember these points only. Electric field is a vector. So basically you have to take a components. And the center of the square, yesterday we discussed about this also. 4 equal charges. At the center of the square, if you keep any charge, what will happen? What will happen, Shashank, for the center? 0. Yes, exactly. So the charges are going to, slightly above also. Above could ekkada yes, equal symmetry unte there will be 0, pulling will be 0, all will pull equally. But here it is not going to be equally exerting equal force on all from all the sides. Why? Because now the point is slightly above the plane. So and రావట్లేదు ఇప్పుడు. ఓకే, ఏమొస్తుంది మరి స్క్రీన్లో? వస్తుందంట సార్, శ్రీనివాస్ సార్ వస్తుందంట సార్, స్టూడెంట్స్ వస్తుందంటున్నారు కదా. So now see, now this is slightly above the plane. So this is not going to have the 0 force. So first we have to tell that. So it is not a 0 force problem. There is going to be some electric field. At the center it's okay, 0, because the charges will balance equally. Now this point is slightly above. It is at a distance z from the center. So now electric field, we know individually due to each charges electric field we have to calculate. Total electric field at this point is going to be due to the 4 charges. Let us call these corners as A, B, C, D. Right. Now each charge will exert a force at this point. Therefore electric field at this point is going to be a contribution from each of the charges. Of course we have labeled this point as P. So electric field at point P is going to be electric field at P due to the first charge at A, let me call this EPA, plus electric field at the point P due to the second charge B, plus electric field at P due to C, plus electric field due to the charge at D. So it's a vector addition, remember this. Electric field is a vector quantity, so you cannot add just like numbers. Now you can calculate, I think, right? You got the clue now. So please try working out. Each electric field you calculate and then put together all the thing. Of course components, remember which components will be there, because vectors. So all you have to do is to connect these, right? These are all vectors. So AP, right? And then BP, then DP, and then CP. So there at this point 4 vectors are meeting like this, right? Now what is the resultant? How will you calculate? Good, try tell me. Lokesh, very good. So it is 4 EP. Who is answering? Who answered? Shashank only? Tanay, very good. So it is 4 EP cos theta. So all you have to do is just calculate EP and multiply that by 4. Of course cos terms you have to take, cos theta you have to take, right? Very good. So now you do it and tell me. Because how will you resolve that and tell me? How will you do it? Your answer is correct. It is therefore electric field, net electric field is 4 EP cos theta. Sign components are cancelling. Exactly, yes. Okay, only A square only. See, this is not just a square. That's why I am telling this is a 3-dimensional problem. You are all, both of you are thinking it is 2-dimensional. Therefore, you are only taking A root 2. I understand why you are telling root 2. But this is there is a z also involved. Remember this. So your distance calculation from the charge to the point you have to calculate, right? So basically you have the square on a plane. Yes, the square, this is the plane. Now this distance, and then you go up. From there you go up. This distance. Now charge is here. So what is the connection between this charge and the point? This distance. So first this is Z. What is this value? Then only you will get your R. Ah, yes. A by root 2. Isn't it? So half of that, right? So that's why. This is half of the diagonal. Yeah. So now you have to therefore get R from these two only. So your equation, general equation for electric field, K into contribution is from this charge, one charge alone, let us say it's Q, divided by your R squared. Of course you have now extra cos theta, and because of the 4 charges you have a 4 factor. So this is how you have to do it. So now cos theta is the horizontal component, so cos theta, all the cos thetas cancel. The other component is sin theta, so all this will add to 0, and the other one is 4k q by r squared sin theta. So all the sin thetas will add, you will get the total net electric field. So now tell me, sin theta how will you get? See, the angle that this is making here, the electric field, that is going to be theta, right? Because we can assume that this angle is theta, therefore this angle is going to be theta, and this is the electric field. So the vertical component is going to be, what is vertical component? Because see, this is one component is going to cancel, the other is going to be there. Which component will cancel, which will be there? If this is theta, you can assume that this has theta or this has theta, it's up to you. So cos theta will survive, sin theta components will cancel, right? Because this is with the vector. The side that is with the vector, angle with the vector is the sin theta, cos theta component. So if cos theta is valid, sin theta is going to cancel. All the sin thetas will add to 0. So now tell me, you calculate and tell me, how will you get the theta? Because you know the sides now. R is known, Z is known, and the third side also is known. So you can get the cos theta, right? So now give me. Calculate and tell me, cos theta, which one will cancel, you decide, cos theta or sin theta? Horizontal component is sin theta, are you sure? Or cos theta? Because vector, you draw the picture correctly, then you will know. I am not going to tell that. Which is the direction, which direction is making an angle, you tell me now. Because this point is P, okay? Right? Now, vertical, where will you draw the vertical for this? This is the charge somewhere. Now straight line, if you are able to draw from this point to this, let us draw a straight line and put the point there. So this is now P. This point is P. So this is the electric field vector. I'm not able to draw straight now. Okay, maybe this is the electric field vector, right? E vector, and your angle is with respect to the base diagonal. Let us say that is here. This is the angle, let us say theta. Now when you draw this is a perpendicular. See, Z is a perpendicular to the plane. Z is a perpendicular. Now you can extend the Z also straight up. The E vector also you can extend. Now this angle is theta. This is a perpendicular. So this angle must be theta. This must be the component that is therefore cancelling, because all the 4 charges will offer their horizontal components for cancellation, not the vertical components. Vertical components are going to remain. So cos theta will remain, sin theta will cancel. So you will get basically E net is 4 EP cos theta. Cos theta is going to be, here theta is there. So it is going to be, you will get this also is theta anyway, theta. So this is theta. So you will get Z by R. Z by R as cos theta. So your E net is equal to 4 into KQ divided by R square into cos theta, which is Z by R. So basically the net electric field is 4 KQ Z by R cube. This is the answer. R cube, what you will substitute the square root of Z square plus A square by 2, because this side is A by root 2. Square of it is A square by 2. So this is going to be your R. R cube is therefore Z square plus A square by 2 power 3 by 2. So the net electric field is going to be 4KQ, or you can K also you can write as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So basically it is going to be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 4 into 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. You can cancel also 4 and 4. Charge is going to be there. Z is there. Denominator is Z square plus A square by 2 whole power 3 by 2. This is the net electric field. Right? You can simplify this by cancelling this also and write again another term 1 by pi epsilon naught you can write. So this is the main factor and this is the constant. So this is the value for the electric field you are going to get if you do it. So basically you see components when you take 4 see cos theta is cancelling. Cos theta will cancel, sin theta will contribute. So it's 4e sin theta only, right? Sin theta is Z by R. Sin theta is Z by R. So basically you are getting Z as such you can write R as square root of A square by 2 plus Z square. So 1 by 5 epsilon naught QZ divided by A square by 2 plus Z square power 3 by 2. This is the net electric field at the point P due to all the 4 charges. So slightly above the plane, the electric field is not cancelling. The components are adding and you are getting a net electric field. So sin theta components are contributing, cos theta components are cancelling. Right? So that is the electric field at that point. Hope you are all able to get this. How we arrived at the 4e sin theta part. Hope you are able to see cos theta horizontal component. It is cancelling for all the 4 charges. Sin theta is remaining vertical. Only vertical components will add. Horizontal components are cancelling because the electric field like 4 arrows pointing at one point. So you can imagine basically this has 4 arrows pointing at one point. This arrow, similarly from the other 4th charge also. Now effectively therefore each arrow has vertical component, horizontal component. All the horizontal are going to be in one plane, so they are all cancelling. That is the cos theta component. All the 4 are cancelling. Remaining is sin theta component, and that is adding, that is vertical component. So vertical or the 4 vertical contributes to 4e sin theta only. So 4e sin theta is therefore the electric field. Right. Next, we will briefly discuss a very important topic. Later on again we have to deal with this in more detail actually. That is electric lines of force. What is this electric lines of force? We know Coulomb force. We know that the Coulomb force between 2 charges is acting along the line connecting the 2 charges. This is how we learnt it in the Coulomb law vector form. Let us say there is a positive and a negative charge. There is going to be a force of attraction between those 2 charges, and the direction of the force is like this, right? Generally we say along the line, and we call this as some vector r cap or whatever it is. The unit vector is R unit vector. Now, extending this concept, we arrived at what is called an electric field. For electric field, how did we define it? We defined the electric field as a region surrounding the charge where you bring in any other charge q, that charge will experience a force. So based on that, we had a discussion yesterday where I told that the direction of the force on a positive charge q in an electric field E is going to be along the direction of the force. So F and E are parallel for a positive charge. If the charge is a negative charge, then the direction of the force is going to be opposite, that is anti-parallel to the direction of the electric field. Now, based on this, one can define what is called electric lines of force. What is this electric lines of force? You can imagine that there are several lines coming out of a charged object. What are these lines? These are like lines of force. That means basically around the charge there is electric field. How to picturize that electric field? So simply telling there is a region, and we cannot see this region. We cannot even see the charge, that is a different point. But electric field we can never see it. We have to put a test charge there and measure it. How much force is acting on the test charge. Therefore, when you keep a test charge is generally positive. I told this also as a rule. So, when you keep a test charge near in an electric field, in a region having electric field, there will be a force on this test charge, and the test charge will move along the line of the force. Such a line of force is called electric line of force. So around any charge, therefore, we can imagine n number of lines. For a positive charge, these lines of force will point outside, because if you keep a test charge, the test charge will be repelled. So the line will be pointing out, because test charge is always positive. For a negative charge, if you keep a test charge which is positive, it will attract. So the lines of force will be pointing inwards. So lines of force will be either pointing outwards or inwards, depending on what test charge we are keeping there. Because test charge is generally positive, this is how one can pictorially represent a field around a positive and a negative charge. So the electric lines of force basically represents the paths along which the unit positive charge will move. Why the charge will move? Because of either force of attraction or repulsion. For a positive charge, it will be repulsion, so it will move out. For a negative charge, it will be pulled towards the negative charge. The positive charge will be pulled towards the negative charge. Therefore, the arrows will point inside. So whenever you see a charge, positive charge, you can represent the lines of force around it like this, arrows coming out. For a negative charge, the arrows are all pointing in. So this is for the isolated positive charge. This is for the case of isolated positive charge and isolated negative charge. But when you have positive and negative charge close by, very close to each other like this, then positive charge is attracted to the negative charge. Therefore, the lines of force coming out of a positive charge will end at negative charge. Many lines of force. Now, how many lines? There is no limit on the number of lines. You can show as many lines as you want. Only consistency is, what is the consistency we have to follow here? If the charge is plus q and the other charge is minus q, and you are representing it with, let us say, like this, line of force starting from positive ending at negative, another line of force starting from positive ending at negative, and you can have another line positive negative. Now for plus q charge, I am totally having 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 4 lines are starting, the 4 lines must end at negative charge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Any line that started in a positive charge will have to end in a negative charge. Otherwise, no end for the line, it will keep going. Now for q charge, I have 4 lines. Suppose therefore I have 2q charge, then I should have 8 lines coming out of the charge. 4, 4. Total 8. So the number of lines of force that are drawn, it is a way pictorial representation only, right? It is not a very strictly something that is not very ఫిజికల్ నిజంగా అక్కడ లేదు అలాంటి లైన్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ ఏమి. మన క్యాల్కులేషన్స్కి వాటికి ఈజీగా ఉంటుందని వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ దిస్ సిస్టమ్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ జస్ట్ అ పిక్టోరియల్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్. ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ సంథింగ్ దట్ ఈస్ దేర్ ఇన్ రియాలిటీ. లైన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ అంటే అరౌండ్ ద చార్జ్ ఏమైనా లైన్ ఉందా ఏంటి? చార్జ్ చుట్టుపక్కల ఓన్లీ ఫీల్డ్ ఉంది. ఆ ఫీల్డ్ని రిప్రజెంట్ చేయడానికి మన లైన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ వాడుతున్నాం. ఎలా అంటే ఆ ఫీల్డ్ రీజియన్లో ఎక్కడైనా ఒక ఛార్జ్ని కనుక తీసుకెళ్ళి పెడితే ఆ ఛార్జ్ మూవ్ అవుతుంది. స్ట్రైట్ లైన్లో ఏదో ఒక లైన్లో మూవ్ అవుతుంది కదా, దాన్నే లైన్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ అంటాం. పాజిటివ్ ఛార్జ్ అయితే ఈ టెస్ట్ ఛార్జ్ని రిపల్ చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి యారో బయట ఉంటుంది, అంటే ఛార్జ్ని తోసేస్తుందని తెలుసుకోవచ్చు దీన్ని బట్టి. నెగటివ్ ఛార్జ్ అయితే లాగేస్తుందని తెలుసుకోవచ్చు. అందుకని నెగటివ్ ఛార్జ్ అరౌండ్ సరౌండింగ్ ద నెగటివ్ ఛార్జ్ వి యూస్ ద ఇన్వర్డ్ పాయింటింగ్ యారో. So this is the number of lines. So number of lines therefore represent the quantity of charge. Therefore indirectly it is a measure of the E, because E and Q are proportional. చార్జ్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటే ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ కూడా ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. సో లైన్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ మనం మోర్ లైన్స్ గీస్తే అర్థం ఏంటంటే చార్జ్ ఈస్ అ బిగ్గర్ చార్జ్, దట్ మీన్స్ ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ ఈస్ మోర్. సో ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ ఈస్ దేర్ ఫోర్ రిప్రజెంటెడ్ ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ లైన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్. మోర్ లైన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్స్ means electric field is stronger. Less lines of force means electric field is weaker. So for a charge of Q we have 4 lines, let us say. For a charge of 2Q we have 8 lines. For a charge of 3Q we have 12 lines, like that. Actual number is arbitrary. ఎన్ని లైన్స్ అయినా గీసుకోవచ్చు మనం, బట్ ప్రపోర్షనాలిటీ మెయింటైన్ చేయాలి. ఒక 2Q ఛార్జ్ని రిప్రజెంట్ చేసేటప్పుడు 8 లైన్స్ ఉంటే 3Q అంటే 12 లైన్స్ ఉండాలి. అట్లా వీ హ్యావ్ టు రిమెంబర్ దిస్. ఓకే, సో దర్ఫోర్ దీస్ ఆర్ జనరలీ ద రిప్రజెంటేషన్. Again at a later stage, after a few classes, we will again discuss in detail what is this electrostatic flux or electric flux. For the time being I am just introducing the concept of line of force, but electrostatic flux is very closely linked to this. So that time we will discuss about electrostatic force in more detail, but for the time being I will just go through the properties of lines of force. What are the properties? Very simple properties only, nothing very complicated. What are those properties? We will try to understand now. First property is the electric field lines originate from the positive charges and end on negative charges. Always charge positive charge నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అయ్యి లైన్స్ నెగటివ్ ఛార్జ్లోనే ఎండ్ అవుతాయి. సో ఇట్ స్టార్ట్స్ ఫ్రమ్ పాజిటివ్ ఛార్జ్ అండ్ ఎండ్ అట్ నెగటివ్ ఛార్జ్. నెక్స్ట్, the tangent to a field line at any point gives the direction of the electric field intensity at that point. So if you want to know the direction of the electric field, all we have to do is to draw a tangent. So if this is a line of force, all we have to do is at this point if I want electric field, all I will have to do is to draw a tangent there. I want electric field at this point, I have to draw a tangent. I want to draw electric field at this point, tangent. Similarly here, tangent. Here, tangent. Anywhere here, tangent. So the direction of electric field constantly, therefore you can see that changes. That is what we mean by vector field. Electric field is a vector field. How do we say? Because of this property. Magnitude will change with distance anyway, because electric field is inversely proportional to r square the distance. But even the direction constantly changes, you see. At every point you have to draw tangent to know the direction of the electric field. Such a field is called as a vector field. So that is what is here mentioned. So at any point if you want to know the direction of the electric field, then you have to draw the tangent to the line of force. So line of force not only tells us about the strength of the electric field. అంటే 4 లైన్స్ ఉంటే ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ E అయితే 8 లైన్స్ ఉంటే 2E, 10 లైన్స్ ఉంటే 2.5E, 12 లైన్స్ ఉంటే 3E. అట్లా మనం నంబర్ ఆఫ్ లైన్స్ బట్టి స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఆఫ్ ద ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫీల్డ్ చెప్పొచ్చు. In the same way, we can also give the direction by drawing a tangent to the electric lines of force. Okay, so the lines of force are closer where the field is strong. అంటే డెన్సిటీ కూడా క్లోజర్ అంటే అర్థం ఏంటి? దగ్గర లైన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, దగ్గర ఎక్కువ లైన్స్ ఉంటే అర్థం ఏంటి? లైన్స్, మోర్ లైన్స్ per unit volume. That means density. So the lines of force are closer when the field is strong and the lines are farther apart when the field is weak. So ఎక్కువ లైన్స్, ఛార్జ్ దగ్గర ఎక్కువ లైన్స్ ఉన్నట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది, దూరం వెళ్ళేటప్పటికి లైన్స్ తగ్గుతాయి. ఎందుకు తగ్గుతాయంటే అక్కడ ఫీల్డ్ కూడా తగ్గిపోతుంది, ఎందుకంటే ఫీల్డ్ గోస్ యాస్ 1/r². సో నియర్ ద చార్జ్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇక్కడ ఓన్లీ పాజిటివ్ చార్జ్ తీసుకొని మీరు రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తే కనుక యూ కెన్ హ్యావ్ మోర్ లైన్స్. యూ సీ ఆల్ లైన్స్ ఆర్ స్టార్టింగ్, నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ లైన్స్ ఈజ్ సేమ్ బట్ డెన్సిటీ విల్ చేంజ్. వై? ఇక్కడ ఒక స్పియర్ మీరు గీస్తే కనుక ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ sphere surrounding the charge, sphere radius will be less, let us say r1. So area, surface area is 4 pi r1 squared. So number of lines is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So 7 lines per unit area, r1 square. Number of lines or line density. Next, the lines are anyway extending to infinity, already cheppanu. If lines are extending to infinity, you can draw a larger sphere somewhere else also, kada? Same charge, you can enclose it with a larger sphere now. This sphere has a higher surface area. Now it is 4 pi r2 square. 4 pi r square is the surface area. So now it is r2 square. 4 pi r2 square, let us say, is the r2 is the radius. Therefore 4 pi r2 is the surface area. Now the number of lines remains the same, 7. But the area has increased. A2 is more than, this is A2. A2 is more than A1. Therefore, the density is now changing. Number density is now changing. So, this is more dense and N2 is less dense. So, electric field is stronger near the charge and electric field is weaker away from the charge. So, E1 is greater than E2. E1 ikkada electric field, E2 ikkada electric field. So, as you go away from the charge, electric field also reduces in magnitude. That also is given by the number density of the lines of force. And final point is, no two lines of force cross each other. The lines of force can never cross each other. That means, why this property is valid? Because suppose two lines of force are crossing. We have a charge and lines of force are, let us say, like this crossing. That means direction of the electric field here becomes undefined. If lines of force, suppose they cross, why? I will draw two tangents here. See, for this I will draw tangent here. For this I will draw another tangent here. For the same point, therefore two directions are coming out, which is not possible because E cannot have two directions. E is a vector and only one direction it can have. So E is a vector, being a vector, and it can have only one direction. Therefore, we cannot have two lines of force representing that point. And hence, we can say that they can never intersect. Lines of force can never intersect. So these are some of the properties of electric lines of force. Later on, when we study the concept of electric flux or electrostatic flux, that time again we will use these ideas. These ideas are very, very important. We will extend these ideas to the concept of electrostatic flux. We will separately deal with the topic. Lot of questions are asked generally on electrostatic flux also. So we will have to understand. So sometime next week we will start the concept of electrostatic flux. That time we will understand again why this is so important and why these properties are so relevant to calculating electric fields. Right. So I think today I will stop here. Okay. Tomorrow anyway we'll revise the whole thing. Okay. Whatever we have discussed this week, all those concepts we will revise, and then Sunday you will write test. Monday we can discuss question paper and then start this next topic. Continuous charge distribution is there. We will start that on Monday. So I will stop here now. Hey, good evening. తేజోకి అర్థమైందా? ఇప్పుడు చూడు చార్జెస్. ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ వీ హ్యావ్ చార్జెస్, let us say we have charges now, and these charges are 4 charges are there on a plane of paper. Now these 4 charges are exerting force along the plane only, right? because all the 4 charges are on a plane. There, who is this? Ramesh is also presenting. I don't know why. Okay, anyway, now it is stopped. So these 4 charges are therefore on a plane, and they are exerting force on each other along the plane only, right? Now the force is not above the plane. So we can call this as a 2-dimensional problem. Suppose now you are going above the plane also. Now vector becomes now not in the xy plane, it is also now xyz, right? Kiran, right? For understanding now? So now vector is a 3-dimensional vector. So now the problem is a 3-dimensional problem. So that vector will have 3 components, not 2 components. It will have x, y and z component. That is why we call that vector as a 3-dimensional vector, and the problem becomes a 3-dimensional problem. So most of the force problems, first we saw line charge, right? 2 charges along the line. That means it is then, what is that? 2 charges is 1-dimensional only. One line, single line. That is either x-axis or y-axis or z-axis. But when you have now third charge, they cannot be in one line, because 3 points means definitely there will be a plane, right? So definitely then that becomes a planar problem or a 2-dimensional problem. And the next level is therefore out of the plane also. That is a 3-dimensional problem, right? చెప్పు చెప్పు చెయ్యి. ఇప్పటిదాకా ఏం లేదు అంటే నీ స్క్రీన్ ఏదో స్టాప్ ప్రెజెంటింగ్ అని వస్తాయి, ట్రై ప్రెజెంటింగ్ అది వస్తుంది. చదువు. సరే, ఓకే ఓకే. ఓకే. 2 ఐడెంటికల్ స్పియర్స్ అని ఇచ్చారా? 60 అంటే ఎంత అన్నాను? 60 అండ్ -20. ఓకే. సెపరేటెడ్ బై 10 cm డిస్టెన్స్. వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఫోర్స్ అని అడుగుతున్నారా? సో ఓకే, బేసికలీ ఐడెంటికల్ స్పియర్స్ అంటే జనరల్గా మన చార్జెస్ ఈక్వల్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్ అవుతుందని అనుకోవచ్చు, అజ్యూమింగ్ అదర్వైజ్ ఏ కండిషన్ ఇవ్వకపోతే చార్జెస్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్లీ డివైడ్ అని అనుకోవచ్చు. సో 60 - 20 అంటే ఎఫెక్టివ్లీ ఇది 60 and 20 ఆర్ 60 and 20 కదా, 40 అవుతుంది కదా ఎఫెక్టివ్లీ. సో 40 ఆన్ ఈచ్ స్పియర్ అని పెట్టుకుని చేస్తే రావట్లేదా? ఎంత డిఫరెన్స్ వచ్చింది? మైక్రోకూలంబ్ అని ఇచ్చారా చార్జెస్ అయితే? కూలంబ్ అని ఇచ్చారా? ఓకే ఓకే, సరే. కూలంబ్ అని ఇచ్చినప్పుడు ఫోర్స్ అంత తక్కువ వస్తుందా? నంబర్ అయితే వస్తుందా నీకు? పవర్లో ఏమైనా మిస్టేక్ ఉందా ఏమో అయితే క్వశ్చన్లో? ఎంత డిఫరెన్స్ వచ్చింది నీకు? ఎంత వచ్చింది పవర్? ఎంత వచ్చింది నీకు? 9 వచ్చింది. అక్కడ ఎంత ఉంది? అంటే ఇప్పుడు సెంటీమీటర్ మీటర్ కన్వర్షన్ కూడా చేసావా? అది చేయాలి కదా మరి. అది 10 cm ఇచ్చాడు అందుకే వాడు. అది మీటర్లో కన్వర్ట్ చేస్తే 10^2 టాలీ అయిపోతుంది. స్క్వేర్ కదా పైగా. సో 10^2 స్క్వేర్ చేసినప్పుడు 10^4. అందుకే నీకు 4 డిఫరెన్స్ వచ్చింది పవర్. నీకు 9 వచ్చింది, వాడికి 13 వచ్చింది, అంటే 10^4 కదా డిఫరెన్స్. ఓకే రైట్, ఓకే.